People will change. This is, I'll just get out there, not the only way that it can be taught. It's just one way. And actually, each time I do puberty in school, depending on how they've asked for it, I can actually end up doing lots of different things, but these are always the base things that I do, and then it goes out different tangents. So the life ed policy. Michelle wanted us to make sure we knew what the life ed policy is. So well done for being in here. So this is as of February 2021. So what do you know of the life ed policy? We've got new girls out there. Oh. Good.
Do you think it's a beloved one?
Okay.
There has to be a notice that goes out to advise parents that we're going to be doing this kind of lesson.
That's just, they see what you said. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what the points I had. These are taken straight from the policies. Not just cut and paste. So yeah, the discussions need to stay in the realm of puberty. It's not sex education. We don't go into that. We don't do the birds and the bees. We're just what's physically and emotionally going to be happening with our bodies. If students ask questions about that sort of thing, that's one of those redirects where you go, great question, maybe that's something you need to discuss at home with your family. We don't go into that realm. Correct. It is a work that we work with the school. We're not there to do it. So for a good example of this, I was teaching puberty last week at a school. So week 10, they are doing puberty with their year 5 to 8, the senior students, all of next term. So we were the introductory, and then they're going to be building on from that and adding their point of view into it, because it's a Catholic school, so we just say purely this is what's physically and emotionally happening with us. They are then going to build on that. Make sure that you discuss with the school exactly what it is they want us to cover, and what we'll say, oh, this is what I would usually cover, is this what you are after, so that everybody's on the same page, that you're not partway through a lesson and you bring up something and it's hit them from left field and they go, actually, we don't want you talking about that sort of stuff. So I went to a school last year and they were like, I said, this is what we'll be covering. They were like, can you please not mention wet dreams and erections? We know we're going to get big backlash from our parents with things that have happened. So it's like, right, that came out. So prevented any possible problem that was happening there. This was with year 6 students. So you may not, with the coverage that you do at that level, maybe not as in depth as you go with year 7, 8s. Just have those discussions with the school. And
Carleen, can I ask something about that?
Yeah.
Say if it was a year 7, 8 class asked not to talk about those things, would you carry on having a conversation with those teachers that actually the idea about having a responsibility to actually for the boys to know that stuff, like as part of being informed?
Yeah, you would. But then if they still no, you go, okay, fine. I've done my part here. Yeah.
Sure. And that might be into what's being covered, and the parents co-plan or agree to what's going to be covered and what's not. It could be an area that they've already had that consultation, right?
So that communication with the school is really, really important. And we can contact Sexual Wellbeing New Zealand. So that used to be called Family Planning, but they've rebranded, and they can support. We can give them the help with navigating the journey resources, which we are getting hopefully an updated link with that.
So they changed their name, and Carleen noticed that the name's no longer work.
Yeah,
that's
what you do with that before.
So I contacted our contact to ask for updated links to their resources. So at the moment, nothing. We don't think anything's changed with our coalition, or working together, whatever that's called.
Collaboration.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the word. And what if you go on to at the moment, their website has changed with their new name, and it's $5 per curriculum level. So year 1 and 2, navigating journey is $5. So it's not a huge cost to the school, but they gave us then permission to give out as free because they want their resources out. So the $5 is their effort, really. So previously we've had all of the links. You can just link it and it goes straight and gives it to them, but they are now broken because they've changed. So at the moment, we tell them to go to the website, it's $5, it's a minimal fee, and it gets emailed to them. But we will see if we can get that back. Yeah, if you click the PDF on our educator platform where they store that sample letter that you give to the schools, they don't work anymore. Oh, well done.
Yeah, saved copies will be fine. Yeah. Hey, and glad you brought this one up as well. It's the parental consultation. So yeah, it does need to be undertaken by the school, and the consultation could be a parental meeting. It could be a newsletter, included in the newsletter to inform them of what's happening. So when it comes to that, there is an example available on the portal. So this is just an example here. Now, when we can give the information to the schools of what to put into the newsletter, but it comes from the school. It doesn't come from us. It's not on our letterhead. It comes on the school's letterhead, so that they know it's not Life Ed's coming into the school and they are going to be indoctrinating our students with this information. It's actually the information the school has asked us to do this. It's all the messaging's all coming from them. So let's just say example, change it for the needs that fits your teaching that you're doing at the school, and it just has a little bit saying, yeah, because we've consulted with the school as to what they're wanting, that hey, the parents got any permission, contact the school because we're just doing what they've asked. It's not us leading.
I'm just going to interrupt. Some of the schools are moving away from getting permission slips, and they're just putting that in their newsletter to notify parents. And if parents don't act on that information, then they've got it's not like we didn't put it out in the newsletter.
Next point here. Yeah, schools do not need to get permission from the parents to be able to teach this. But schools may elect to do it. Like the school I was just at, they elected that they wanted to get signed permission before the students came into the session. It was their choice. So there were a few children who didn't participate because the parents said no, which was really annoying because the parents were concerned about the content we were doing, yet they didn't come to the parents' meeting the week before. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But they do have permission, to say, hey, I don't want my child to be taking part in these sessions because as their child, it's their choice. Yeah. Any questions about that sort of stuff? On the policy and all that stuff?
I've got one little thing to add, just to reiterate that as well. So we don't need evidence that they have consulting families. It's not something you see as live paper. It's actually asking them, have you, under the sexuality and nutrition guidelines and under their requirement under health curriculum, have you consulted with your family? Are they happy with what you are covering that you've asked us to cover? They say yes.
We just accept their word.
Yeah. And that's under the health policy that gets reviewed every 2 years.
They have to. They actually have to consult with the legal. Yeah.
So if they say, like on the plan, I've got one coming up, it says the parents have been contacted. Is that enough? Parents have been consulted. Is there something along those lines?
And they put that on there. Yeah.
That's
when they say to you what they want you to cover, like as part of this, can you do body parts because we're a bit, penis dominant, and we're happy for you to do that. You've got that they've consulted, and that's what they've asked my bed to try and cover. But I think it's also really still important to go, when you send your, or even when you are going to use today, scrotum B, it's like good. Just to make sure that we're all on the same wavelength. But yeah, that's pre knowing they've already consulted. That's wonderful.
It's your response.
Yeah, so it's just the
well trained, obviously. They're well trained by somebody else.
Yes, resonates. Go.
There we go. So you can tell you.
Have to do the spiel and I have
So now you cannot say you're not aware of what the policies are. I've been through it and you've got the
paper.
yeah. Okay. So right.
Oh.
I've got my virtual chocolate.
Yeah, what's the currency?
I know, I've got to come up with your currency, yeah.
Curly Willies.
Yeah. So resources that are available. We do have a number of resources that are out there to use when teaching puberty. Lots of them are found at the Educator Resource Library, which, let's see, does my little work. Okay, you guys can't see it, but I can. Come on.
Are you going to be sharing the slideshow with us?
Yeah, this slideshow is being shared.
Thank you.
Yeah, so don't practice this at home. It will
We saw it flashed.
We saw a light hit bus.
Don't you love technology? It's so great. Okay. So if I go. Yeah, the bus is it's my desktop. Oh, I go like that. Get out the slideshow. Escape. Yeah, done that one. It's the let's try like that. There we go. Close out. Close out of the slideshow. Okay, so and it does bring up. Okay, so on the link actually does have. We go. The link did actually take straight to the resources page. And if we just type in puberty up here.
Yeah, these are the ones that are just for us, or these are the
These is this is
everybody.
yeah, that's the school one, sorry. Let's just sign me in here to the Educator Resource Library brother. That's because I wasn't signed in, that's why the link didn't work. Yes. Thank you, Hallie. I was just making sure everybody was paying attention so you passed the test well. It's always been my go-to excuse in the classroom and it always works well. Okay, so we've got in puberty. So this is a great one here. Great resource, teaching puberty is actually Teresa doing this a couple of years ago. So a PowerPoint, a video of her. She's got a video here that you can click on to go through, which has got all of 48 minutes. So here it comes up. So you can find it her way of also teaching puberty. So you can also go back onto there, which is a very handy thing to use. And if I download the resource, it should be, there is her PowerPoint that she did. And on her PowerPoint there has got lots of different graphics you can use. So that one goes really large for us. So the anatomy pictures, different labelling cards you and sorting cards. So if you are in the need of these sort of resources, they're all available on that teaching puberty resource that's on this the Educator Resource Library, and yeah, just so many just different resources there, ready to go. Lovely and updated branding by Hayley here, so yeah, all there ready to go. And then there's other activities there as well. So there's quite a few things there that you can always use to help build up your knowledge there. Let's just get and we'll just play catch up. Okay, AVs. There's a few AVs there that we can use. So Harold introducing Trevor, that's the one from the substances, one that was designed for introducing the into the web, into the shadows one. But if you go from 5 minutes 10 to about 8 minutes 40, that's where he just talks about the changes that happen as we are going through teenage years, as we're going through puberty. So it's a good introduction one, talks a bit about the changes that happen in the brain with the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus doing their things. Also got the Chloe series of videos if you want to find out more about what's happening with the brain, changes in the brain, and our images, and there's 3 AVs to do with actually the diagram of the bodies.
Sure, that still works. Yeah, on my tablet, they came up with a message.
Which ones?
The body parts.
Yeah, I was using them last week. Yeah. And there's also this website, ubuycotex.co.nz, where you can actually get samples of period products. So if I actually take you to the link, follow the link.
Will your stuff be added to the
yeah, this is going to be shared. Yeah.
Just be aware, I just ordered those 30 come in a box this big.
Yeah, so they
can't have a lot of storage.
Yeah, so what I do when I'm using it, so you come to this, so my link takes you to this page, and down here is order free and comprehensive puberty education kits for your schools. So they do come in boxes of 30, so I usually order them just before I go to a school. They can take up to a month to arrive, so you do need to give a lot of lead time. And so they get a little purse pack with samples of different size pads and a packet of tampons as well, so that the girls can have them away and take them away with them. You can either order them. I think though there is a limit to the number of packs you can order in a year. So if it's going to be something you're going to do quite often, you can actually go, hey, Mary Beth, who's your contact at school, here's this website. You can order these products and the school can then order them. Because when you order them, you've got to say what's email school and stuff, so it needs to get delivered directly to the school. Yeah, so that's always really handy.
Is this the box we got last conference or one of the conference?
No, so this is the ones that we got at the last conference was a pack that we could use to teach.
Yeah,
Yeah, these are actually purse packs that girls can take home with them. Yeah.
If you provide free samples, can girls come here and order them themselves?
I'm not sure. I've only ever gone into this part, but it's a page we can share with teachers, because this is the teachers page. Yeah. It's got lots of information in it. Yeah.
Yeah. If the teacher doesn't,
yeah. 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 So yeah, and the girls love them, and I actually I'll come to that later. I won't jump here. Yeah. So yeah, that's a very handy site. And yeah, you were saying about the images. Yeah, no, the images, they still work.
Yeah, I've got those printed. I just can't make them on a tablet.
Yeah, no, because I just did a screenshot of that from my USB last week, putting this. But when I was teaching in the mobile classroom, I had the individual ones. So if you're not sure, there's one clip that has the male anatomy and female anatomy like this together. Then there is a separate one for just the male anatomy and a separate one for just the female anatomy.
Clarify. Did you take those off your pen driving thing, or was it already loaded on our tablet?
Oh, they're on the tablet. So anything that's on your USB,
yeah,
the AV USB is on our tablets.
Just checking.
Yeah. So that which are much easier when they are bigger than even the size of the screen than using what I used to use before we had them, a card that big. The kids can see it so much easier when it's up there. Yeah. Right. Just checking my notes and see everything I was going to do. Okay, so this is one way of teaching puberty. Now this first bit, lately, when I did it last week, when Leslie came out and saw me, I didn't have time to do this. So this was one thing I had to drop off. But I do like to create class treated expectations at the start where they are telling me how they're going to behave during these sessions. So it puts the ownership back on them. So throughout, when they come back for following that sessions during the visit, I'll always have their class treaty go up and go, oh, and if they start to get a bit silly, hey, remember we said we're going to be mature, right? So it just puts the ownership back onto them. Yeah. And usually the only thing I say that I have to add to the list, because they usually come up with a really good list, is we're going to be discreet. So anything that we say in this environment is going to stay in this environment. We're not going to take it out the door. We could take home the information back home and go, oh, Mum, did you know that when this can happen to my body, we can go home and share those things. But we're not going to go outside in the playground and say, and tell our friend in another class, do you know what Sarah said? She said blah, 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 blah. We're going to keep those things. So it just opens up that sense of it is a safe place to share their thinking and their ideas. So we discussed how long puberty is going to happen, and that's where it ties in well with that Trevor clip. And we use the ladder to talk about how it's a 7-year process. So we do get a bit of maths in there because we talk about that even though Trevor says on his AV that puberty can happen between the ages of 10 and 15, I actually say, well, actually it's happening younger and younger. Mm-hmm. So it can actually be as young as 8 that it could start. So we do some maths and go, well, if someone's 8, they're 15 when they finish, but someone else could be 15 and only just starting. So that brings into how our relationships can change because we're all at different stages, but hey, we come back, eventually we get back to the same level and our friendships can rekindle, or we've actually gone, actually, I've made new relationships and it's okay that our relationships change because it is something that's going to happen to us. Some of them, you get very worried about that stuff happening. If you saw Inside Out 2 last night, it's had exactly that happening in the movie. And then I do a bit of a sort to see if they actually know the difference between emotional changes that are going to happen to us during puberty or physical changes. And so I just have a pack of cards. Mine are looking really old, but the updated ones there on Teresa's slideshow there. And so it's just got things like embarrassment, height increasing, pubic hair, body odours, and it does have other ones in there like wet dreams and erections. So we just, as a class, we sort them into those headings, and ironically, one of my cards actually called the emotional changes actually has characters from Inside Out 1 on it, and I've been using them the last few years, no reaction when I put the cards up on the wall, put them up last week, Inside Out, so the connection, because with the movie just coming back out again. And then after we've done a sort into what categories they fall into, we actually do it again, but we sort them, so I actually should, I think as a class we sort them again, but this time we put them into three different categories, and I will start with the emotional ones first. And even though my cards say boys, girls, and both, we talk about does it happen if you've got a male anatomy or if you've got a female anatomy. So it doesn't matter if even if you're not going down gender diversity and all this stuff. If a child is sitting in there going, well, I identify as male, but I've actually got female anatomy, that's going to be happening to their body, even if they don't identify to what their anatomy is. So it's just a quite little, just a change of term. So it's a male anatomy or a female anatomy. And yeah, the reason I always start with emotional ones first is because we work out once we've done the emotional cards that it doesn't actually matter what anatomy we've got. We all go through the same emotional changes through puberty. So that's where we tie back to Trevor's video where he says about needing to be kind to each other. So it's like, hey, we're all going through this. We're all feeling embarrassed. We're all feeling self-conscious, these things. And then we do the same sort of activity with the anatomy. Now, this is where definitely discussions need to happen with the schools. Some schools that I've done puberty with, they want boys and girls together when they're finding about the biology parts. Other schools are very much, no, we want the boys separate and the girls separate. So, personally, I think it's great if both are together because then they've got that better understanding about each other, but it's all about what the school wants and you go along their ways. I do find though that when I am doing it separately, we spend a lot of time on their particular gender and possibly a little bit on the other one. When it is together, they find out about the same amount about each other, but so they don't get quite as in depth. So it's give and take there. But when I am doing it separate, I do ensure though in the boys session, that we do discuss. Because as I say to them, you're going to be around females your entire life. Potential girlfriends, potential wives, your bosses, your workmates, potential daughters. So you need to understand about that stuff. And sometimes I even have time to tell them about the first time I went to teach puberty because I had never seen puberty taught before I had to teach it. I just had to go from the notes that the previous educator had left me. And I mentioned to someone that I was doing it, and she was like, please make sure the boys understand about the periods, because she had a mate who was just about to go into medical school, and he thought it was like having a poo. That you went to the toilet, periods done. So, yeah. And that was someone who was about to enter into medical school. So I'm like, okay, that's why I definitely, yeah, I know, it's mind blowing, eh? Yeah. So that's why I always make sure the boys understand about that. Yeah. I know. Wouldn't it be so great if that was it? And then when I discovered that like orangutans and monkeys, they just reabsorb everything, I'm like, well, come on, why couldn't our bodies work like that? Like, come on, someone got that wrong. Yeah.
When we
so I talk about that there are light flows and heavy flows. I talk about how it can take a while to work out what your normal is going to be, but it does happen it can be 5 to 7 days, some people's could be 3, and that if for every month that a lady's not pregnant, she will then have a period every 30 days, and then when I give them the fact that don't be in a rush to have them, because once you start, you've got them for the next 30 or 40 years. There's a lot of horror on their faces when they realise it's not just something that happens as a teenager, that it goes on for that length of time. Yeah. But, yeah.
I was also meaning the just bleeding. Like, you have
Tension and
well, you have like emotionally
Yeah.
hormones fluctuate.
Yeah.
We walk into
Yeah, well, you go as far as you are comfortable with going. Yeah, I do mention that the hormones can go over the place, especially when I do it with the boys, and say, hey, if you get that phone call or that text one day that says, hey, can you pick me up some products? You do that. You go from boyfriend of the year to here to here.
Yeah.
If you pick up chocolate at the same time, to there. And the boys gets laughed, and because I say because it can be uncomfortable for people. And we do have that discussion with the girls that, yeah, some people it's a breeze, some people need wheat packs, some people need it's just different things, yeah.
that's kind of about what I was going to ask is, do you cover what is abnormal?
Well, because I say everyone's different. So what might be normal for me might not be normal for someone else, but doesn't mean it's not normal. So, but I do go as far as, look, if you haven't, nothing started by the age of 15, that might be a time to talk to a doctor. Or once you've worked out what your normal is, if you notice something is different, then you need to go and talk to a doctor, because you don't know if what you're going through is normal or what's abnormal, because it's only what you've ever gone through.
It's generalist, if you have any concerns, right?
Yeah.
Go and talk
Yeah.
to a health professional.
Yeah, and
I
I say
guess
they've got period experts in their lives. They've got your mums, your aunties, grandmothers, your teachers. Yeah.
I just think there's like a lack of education out there about endometriosis for someone who has it and PCOS. It's like 1 in 10, I think, have endo, but so many people just never get diagnosed.
Yeah.
Like I'm diagnosed, but my family members, my aunties, my mum, my grandma, all were not diagnosed. So how do we get that info to kids that
So
if you're in severe pain
Yeah.
or
Well, so you could bring that totally in that, hey, if it's the pain is, if you are getting pain and it's not a Nurofen doesn't cure it, then yeah, go and speak to a doctor. Yeah.
So we are talking about puberty change and we're not jumping into sex education. They're obviously linked. So do we go down the track of why we have a period or?
Well, I say that the blood is there for if a lady gets pregnant to help nurture and grow a baby. But I don't explain how she gets pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sort of put it that both isn't the gas and its other half of genetic material, so it's sort of a quite big word, so quite as obvious. But
Yes.
I sort of
I don't even go anywhere near that. I just say, hey, an egg comes to here, and if a lady's not pregnant, then the blood.
then what do you say about the sperm?
Don't bring that in at all. Oh, sperm is just when I'm talking with the
Like if
boys.
you're talking about boys.
Yeah, with the boys, sperm is just a fluid that the male body makes. Yeah, and it's just they don't know. Some of the kids know why, but we're not going that far. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know if I would use it. The way that my mother explained it to me was that it's like we're having a big party and we get out all of the lovely fine china and all of the best food, but then the guest of honour doesn't turn up, so we have to throw everything. What say? Now who the guest of honour was. Is that a way of doing it?
I love that.
Maybe not doing
Yeah.
Please.
There's then usually it's like Tina's like, alright, well, let's go. Start marching and then sometimes the long time to your back. But sometimes it's too late.
Question the other day, when I was teaching puberty. So what do you do with your penis when it's hard? And I said, just because it's hard, you don't have to use it. I left it there. Oh, that's
Right.
because they were a cheeky batch then.
Yeah.
About stuff, and there was some sexually active children, I was told, in that class. So, yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I have this book, which was the Old Family Planning Sexuality Road, which has got activities in it that are hands-on activities that one of the previous educators had sorted, which because I know really well how the female anatomy works, so I was able to describe that well, but they were obviously in the same position as me, too up onto exactly the bits and bobs and what it does with the male. So there was actually this activity that I get the kids to work in groups where they have to work out the description to go with the label, and then we go through the answers at the end. I've got my teacher set made up with the answers on it, so that never comes apart, so I can actually still tell them we can work out where it all goes, and that just gets the boys love being able to do that interactive. And so when we are doing it together, the kids have the choice whether they are in a mixed gender group when they're doing it, or they're just boys in one group and girls in another group. And actually, I get a good mixture, and they actually feel okay doing mixed group boy and girls together with that.
Carleen, should we have that resource in our
some people, I'm not sure if I think everyone may have been giving this years ago because it is quite old. So other people may have published in 2009. So other educators might have gone, have you had it, Rudy? Okay.
Stephen.
Okay. Well, okay. Maybe there's not everyone has Thanksgiving. If Rudy hasn't had it, he's been around a bit longer than me. Yeah. Just a bit, just a couple of months, eh, Rudy? Yeah. So, but these aren't in print anymore.
So I didn't know that I kept that book, but when I was with Carleen and seeing the card things, I then went back and had a look through my kit, and that was there.
Okay.
It was just that the bag was really nondescript.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to send me photos of it, I can make it to a modern version. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I could also do the female version card
Yeah,
one
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
So I know you type it. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll give you a book.
Bridget on the show.
And yeah, then we look at how our relationships can change and that sort of thing. So, and you can do that however you like, whatever works for you, and you can go into other things as long as that you feel when you're consulted with the school that it ties into. Bring Te Whare into there, absolutely. I use this resource that Michelle Brown made a number of years ago, just after I started. So what we do in the class, and I've actually got it with me, where we do a little bit of a sorting activity to put the items into those different categories. You could bring the whenua into it as well, because when I looked this up to how you could actually explain the whenua. So it's a place of belonging where you feel comfortable and safe. So it could be your families, it could be your friends, a sports team, a school. It's about finding the place where you fit, that you feel comfortable with. And there's an activity I do with Jenga blocks to do with Te Whare, which I've got a little video of me doing it last week, just showing the end of it. But what the bits that you won't see on the video is actually the class gets broken into these four groups, and they get a big giant wooden Jenga block each with a whiteboard tape on it, and then they just have to all individually write what things they can do during puberty to look after their taha, if that's their group that they're looking at. If they're just looking at taha wairua, what can they do to look after that aspect of?
How big are these blocks?
Well, you're going to see on the video.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Should see. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. Just. Yeah. Link.
Right. Open link.
Where am I seeing it?
Open link.
Oh, there we go. Okay, what could you do to look after your mental and emotional well-being? You did have these there, yeah. You're going to have good mental health. Yeah. What do you got? Add it to our tower. So that decent size what we got here?
Yeah.
Yeah. What sort of food? Yeah. Well, but it's sometimes, not all the time, but yeah, sometimes it does help out things. Look, all about veggie ball, right? Okay. See the taha team member group said about the veggies. Okay, taha wairua. What are you going to do to look after your spiritual knowledge? Yeah. So that was pray if you didn't hear it. It's a Catholic school, so of course that's where they were going to go. Yeah. But what was your one? Yours wasn't praying. Yours was different, hey? Which was setting goals up over. Setting goals for yourself. That's what you're going to look after your wider during the day. You're going to bring yours across the middle here. So we have made a nice, strong, sturdy tower here, right? Because we've put equal effort into looking after the four aspects of our water, our well-being. Nice and tall, sturdy. But you know what? Guess what? You neglected your taha wairu. You were not looking after your spiritual well-being. Did you take your thought now? Just take it out. Just take it out. It's all nice. So our task, it's not as good as it was. It's not as tall as it was because we haven't looked after that particular aspect of our well-being of our whole order. Do you know what? Yeah, you've been neglecting your taha. You've been neglecting your social well-being. You haven't been looking after your wairua, haven't been looking after your social well-being. You've been putting all your focus onto your mental and emotional well-being and your physical well-being. Take up your taha whānau. You haven't been doing anything with anybody else.
Yeah.
And that's the same. If we don't put work into all four aspects of our whole order, of our well-being, our tails, our bodies go into a task. We're not going to be the best person we can be physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that, spiritually. And life is going on. Right? So, we're going to go life starts. Yeah. Because we're not dealing our whole person, we look after our whole well. We make sure we look after all of the aspects. We're going to get through puberty a lot. So, does that make sense to you guys? We keep all the stuff in mind. And then the teacher chimes in at the end here. She's been giving them whole lot of homework. Do something with your family. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's the end of that show. And Michelle was like, "You got there for 40 minutes. We've gone 1 minute."
You got the big Jenga blocks and your whiteboard.
I got Jenga blocks off Trade Me.
Okay.
And the whiteboard tape I got from Warehouse Stationery.
I had my own stationery the other day and I didn't. It's one of the $2 shops.
Talk about sleeping, said yes, but 2 hours to go. So they came back with question, why are my reputation and identity important? But then they go on, what is our identity? How do we create our reputations? What do they mean to us now? What do they mean as later in life? Then we show people who we really are, depending on each. Identify this could include personality, gender stereotyping, and or gender identity, physical and social expression.
Very much like what has been made.
But that should actually be pubertal or and new entrance.
Oh,
is
that was juniors.
Yeah, that's for the whole school. Year 1 to 6.
Oh,
that's the whole school planning.
So what we normally now ask those parents first about if it's okay for me to talk gender identity, or how do we see that here?
If they're asking gender identity, you need to ensure that they've asked
That's one
the
of the
whānau about that, yeah. And give them something to put in their newsletter and say that the school has asked you to teach this.
It's my first school after, and they haven't even got back to me about information. So it's just the last couple of days.
Just looking at Rob. Look, can I?